Hello, you're very welcome back. In today's reading, we get a picture of Milton descending from the heavens, no longer clothed in Satan's apparel. Satan, helpless, watches from the sidelines, and all he can do is tremble and fume. Blake can feel what's going on with Satan and senses that Satan's time and his machinations as Babylon the Great are coming to a close. It's all very biblical. Milton addresses Satan and tells him that he could replace him if he wants to, but he has something far better in mind. He tells Satan that he has controlled people under the fear of death for such a long time, and now Milton is going to remove that fear so that people can live life to the full. Satan explodes in insane fury, claiming that he is God and that Milton bow down and adore him. The Seven Ages, they realize, well, their time has come to a close and a new age is coming in through the power of Milton's vision. Let's do the reading. The heavens are the cherub, the 12 gods are Satan, and the 48 starry regions are cities of the Levites, the heads of the great polypus. Fourfold 12 enormity, in mighty and mysterious commingling, enemy with enemy, woven by Urizen into sexes from his mantle of years. And Milton, collecting all his fibres into impregnable strength, descended down a paved work of all kinds of precious stones out of the eastern sky, descending down into my cottage garden, clothed in black, severe and silent he descended. The spectre of Satan stood upon the roaring sea, and beheld Milton within his sleeping humanity. Trembling and shuddering he stood upon the waves, a 27-fold mighty demon, gorgeous and beautiful. Loud roll his thunders against Milton. Loud Satan thundered, loud and dark upon mild Felpham shore. Not daring to touch one fibre, he howled round upon the sea. I also stood in Satan's bosom and beheld its desolations, a ruined man, a ruined building of God, not made with hands, its plains all burning sand, its mountains of marble terrible, its pits and acclivities flowing with molten ore and fountains of pitch and nitre, its ruined palaces and cities and mighty works, its furnaces of affliction, in which his angels and emanations labour with blackened visages among its stupendous ruins, arches and pyramids and porches, colonnades and domes, in which dwells mystery, Babylon. Here is her secret place, from whence she comes forth in the churches in the light. Here is her cup filled with its poison in these horrid veils, and here her scarlet veil woven in pestilence and war. Here is Jerusalem bound in chains in the dens of Babylon. In the eastern porch of Satan's universe, Milton stood and said, Satan, my spectre, I know my power thee to annihilate, and be a greater in thy place, and be thy tabernacle, a covering for thee to do thy will, till one greater comes and smites me as I smote thee, and becomes my covering. Such are the laws of thy false heavens, but laws of eternity are not such. Know thou, I come to self-annihilation. Such are the laws of eternity, that each shall mutually annihilate himself for others' good, as I for thee. Thy purpose, and the purpose of thy priests and of thy churches, is to impress on men the fear of death, to teach trembling and fear, terror, constriction, abject selfishness. Mine is to teach men to despise death and to go on in fearless majesty annihilating self, laughing to scorn thy laws and terrors, shaking down thy synagogues as webs. I come to discover before heaven and hell the self-righteousness in all its hypocritic turpitude, opening to every eye these wonders of Satan's holiness, showing to the earth the idol virtues of the natural heart as Satan's seat, explore in all its selfish natural virtue, and put off in self-annihilation all that is not of God alone, to put off self and all I have, ever and ever. Amen. Satan heard, coming in a cloud, with trumpets and flaming fire, saying, I am God, the judge of all, the living and the dead. Fall therefore down and worship me. Submit thy supreme dictate to my eternal will, and to my dictate bow. I hold the balances of right and just, and mine the sword. 7 angels bear my name, and in those 7 I appear. But I alone am God, and I alone in heaven and earth. Of all that live, dare utter this, others tremble and bow, till all things become one great Satan in holiness opposed to mercy, and the divine delusion Jesus be no more. Suddenly around Milton on my path the starry 7 burned terrible. My path became a solid fire, as bright as the clear sun, and Milton silent came down on my path. And there went forth from the starry limbs of the 7 forms human, with trumpets innumerable, sounding articulate as the 7 spake, and they stood in a mighty column of fire surrounding Felpham's Vale, reaching to the mundane shell, saying, Awake, Albion, awake! Reclaim thy reasoning spectre. Subdue him to the divine mercy. Cast him down into the lake of Los, that ever burneth with fire, ever and ever. Amen. Let the 4 Zoas awake from slumbers of 6,000 years. Then loud the furnaces of Los were heard, and seen as 7 heavens stretching from south to north over the mountains of Albion. Satan heard, trembling round his body he encircled it. He trembled with exceeding great trembling and astonishment, howling in his spectre round his body, hungering to devour, but fearing for the pain, for if he touches a vital, his torment is unendurable, therefore he cannot devour, but howls round it as a lion round his prey, continually. Loud Satan thundered, loud and dark upon mild Felpham's shore, coming in a cloud with trumpets and with fiery flame, an awful form, eastward from midst of a bright paved work of precious stones by cherubim surrounded, so permitted, lest he should fall apart in his eternal death, to imitate the eternal great humanity divine, surrounded by his cherubim and seraphim in ever happy eternity. Beneath sat Chaos, sin on his right hand, death on his left, and ancient night spread over all the heaven his mantle of laws. He trembled with exceeding great trembling and astonishment. The starry 7 tell Albion it's time to awaken and put reason under the control of mercy. This means that Urizen must take his proper place in Albion's psyche, and no longer terrorize the nations with his cold reasoning mind. They ask that he be sent down to Los, I guess to learn how to imagine. They say the Zoas need to all awake from their mental stupor that has gone on for 6,000 years. In contrast, Satan stands in all his glory, with sin and death on either side of him. He still spreads his mantle over the heavens, but he has good reason to tremble. So that's it for this reading. Thank you very much for listening. I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.